How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Roller Coaster History Podcast. You are listening to Airtime Traveler. My name is Nathan Grace, and I'm joined by my wife and lovely co-host.
Hey, I'm Haley Grace.
And thank you for tuning in to our Dollywood trip report. If this is your first time tuning into the podcast, this is kind of a bonus episode that we're doing. We typically, every 2 weeks, we take one roller coaster and we dive into the history of that roller coaster. So I'm a coaster enthusiast and have been for a long time, and my wife Haley is a member of the GP, or the general public. So
that's right.
I share the coaster stories with her, and she's here to make me more interesting. So
I don't know why you keep saying that.
You know, it's our new catchphrase, I think.
Oh dear, is that what it is?
So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to go and check out one of our Airtime Traveler episodes. But here we're just going to kind of talk about our recent trip to Dollywood. It was our first time for both of us going to the park. I went for 2 days. Haley went for one. For those of you that don't know, Haley is pregnant, which makes roller coaster trips a little difficult right now.
Life is interesting, to say the least.
So, it's not a bad thing. It was, this was a good thing for our family. It's just kind of one of those things that, like, you have to sacrifice one thing for another thing, right? So,
it's true.
But I think we're kind of tentatively wanting to go back to Dollywood next year, I think. So that's
in the plans.
Yeah, so I think Haley we may have to do another trip report next year once Haley gets to experience some of these rides. But she's here to, I'll share some. I haven't really talked to her a whole lot about my experience the second day that I went, and I've talked a little bit about the coasters with her, but so I'll be sharing some of that with her and obviously with you guys. And then Haley will have some input as far as the atmosphere and the food at the park. So, but yeah, I think that's a good little intro. I don't think anything else before we hop in.
Nope.
I don't think so. Okay. Well, let's just jump right in. So normally, I think I don't know. I can't remember if we start with atmosphere or food. I feel like we start with food first, usually.
Doesn't matter.
Which one do you want to start with?
I don't know.
I guess atmosphere makes more sense to me because that's the thing you experience first when you walk into the park, right?
That's true, yeah.
Now, before getting into that, I will say I want to get one of my main complaints out of the way first.
Oh, okay.
Just because...
Complaining already?
Well, because it happened before I even got into the park for the first time.
Booth, yeah.
So, for those of you who aren't familiar, Dollywood is part of a small chain of amusement parks. There's bigger chains like Six Flags and Cedar Fair and the SeaWorld chain, Disney, Universal, all those, the big players. Silver Dollar City, Dollywood, Kentucky Kingdom, and then a few other smaller parks are part of the Herschend chain. Now, Dollywood and Silver Dollar City are kind of the two main players. Kentucky Kingdom's a smaller one, but still has some decent coasters. But Dollywood is pretty much the crown jewel of the Herschend chain, I would say. It's definitely the park that gets the most money invested into it, between all the resorts and the roller coasters and expansions. Right. So Silver Dollar City is a close second, I think, but certainly the Dollywood is the park that gets the most amount of investments, which is probably because it's not just Herschend investing into it, but also Dolly Parton herself. So, you're kind of getting both of those investing into the park. But so Silver Dollar City is our home park. So when we were talking about parks we wanted to go to in 2023, we had done Cedar Fair in 2022, and so we decided, what if we just did the Herschend chain for 2023? So we would get basically, Cedar Fair, you can buy a pass that gets you into all the parks. You just pay one flat rate or a monthly payment, and their Platinum Pass gets you into all the Cedar Fair parks with free parking and other perks like discounts on merchandise and things like that. It's a really great deal, and that's what we that's what we did for last year when, we visited. I think you went to 4 parks and I went to 5. And it was,
like that.
and it was perfect. We had lots of great trips last year. And so Herschend, unfortunately, does not have a pass like that. They don't have like a platinum pass that gets you into all of their parks.
Yeah.
Which to me is slightly outdated because all the other big chains offer that. Not necessarily Disney and Universal because, like...
I mean, Disney technically does. They've got
I guess if you pay out... if you really, really want to, you could pay for something that gets into
their, DVC membership.
Yeah, but that doesn't get you into the parks, does it? I think that just gets you like discounts on resorts and stuff like that. But it's not like here's your pass. This gets you into all Disney parks. So you still have to have like individual tickets to Disney World or Disneyland. So
yeah. Or individual passes.
Right.
Because they have annual passes to both.
Yeah, because you could have an annual pass to Disney World, but then if you went to Disneyland, you'd have to buy it separately.
Right.
I think Disney's kind of its own animal, though.
Right.
As far as Cedar Fair and Six Flags, both of them have passes, and SeaWorld, so the 3 big roller coaster chains, I would call them.
Busch Gardens, even.
Well, Busch Gardens is part of the SeaWorld chain.
Oh,
and so if you get the SeaWorld Platinum Pass, I think it's Platinum, that gets into 3 SeaWorld parks and the 2 Busch Gardens parks and the Sesame Place parks. I think that's the other thing that's part of the chain.
Where's that one at again?
There's one in Pennsylvania and one
was.
in California, I believe so. I know there's one in Pennsylvania, and I think there's another one in California. So, but all those bigger chains all offer these passes that get into all of their parks. Herschend doesn't. Now, Herschend does have a system where if you have a season pass to one of the other parks, it gets you 50% off tickets to the other parks. So, not as good of a benefit, but is a benefit.
Right.
So when we were talking about this, we decided, well, why don't we just get our Silver Dollar City season passes? We've done that before. Some years we don't because we're, tight on money or whatever. But we decided this year, let's do that. And we'll use that to get discounts when we go to Dollywood and when I go to Kentucky Kingdom later this week. So that was the plan. So I called Dollywood, and I'm probably making this too long, but I called Dollywood beforehand, and Silver Dollar City gave me a passcode that said, like, when you go to buy your tickets, just input this code and it'll give you your discount. Well, I go into the Dollywood website to buy tickets, and there's nowhere to put in like a coupon code or anything like that.
So there's problem number 1.
So that's problem number 1. The parks aren't even communicating with each other on how to manage this. Like, Silver Dollar City is saying, here's your passcode, and Dollywood's like, yeah, we don't do that. So it's like, first, that's problem number 1. The parks aren't even communicating on how to do this discount properly. Okay, that's problem number 1. So essentially, I called Dollywood, and their solution was I had to show up and go to the ticket booth, which is, it's so annoying to have to go to the ticket booth because you wait in this really long line. Mm-hmm. And then they have like these electronic booths you can go to, but I didn't even try those because I was certain it wasn't going to work at the...
Right, if it's not going to work on
I'm like, yeah, if it's not going to work online, why is it going to work at this electronic booth? So I'm like, I'm going to have to talk to a person. So that's outdated, first of all, and I don't know, it's frustrating that that's the system that they have in place, but whatever. So we show up at the park like 30 minutes early...
Right.
So that I can, we can take the tram up to the front of the park and I can try to get this sorted out. We had to get 2 tickets, one for Haley, a 1-day pass for Haley, and then a 2-day pass for myself. Parker's free.
Thank goodness.
And so, fortunately. He's not free at all parks, but the Herschend one, he's still free at. But, I get up to the ticket booth or we do. I guess you were still with me at that point, weren't you? And Haley's ticket, no problem. They said, okay, here's your 1-day ticket, 50% off, good to go. Perfect. Now, when I tried to tell them that I was going to be doing a 2-day pass, my thought process was they would give me a 1-day, because like the 2-day pass is only like $20 more than the 1-day.
Right.
In fact, here, I'll pull up the prices here, because I want to get this right. Tickets and pricing. Okay, so a 1 day ticket is $89, which first of all, that's that's crazy. But a 2 day pass is $109, so it's only $20 more to go a second day. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought process was, and this is what the person, when I called the park, this is what the person had assumed they would do for me, but could not like do it for me over the phone. They said what they would probably do is just give me a 1 day pass at half off and then upgrade it to a 2 day pass. So it would be just like the extra $20 to upgrade it to a 2 day pass. But it would not, I wouldn't get half off that extra $20 essentially. So, which was fine. That made sense to me. So essentially I'd get a 2 day pass for, well, here, so let me do the math. So I would got 2 day pass is usually $109. So if I get $89 for the 1 day, divide that by 2, 44.5 plus the $20 to upgrade. So I'd get a 2 day pass for $65 essentially, which is a little more than, like, it's basically like 45% off or something like that. So that makes sense to me. Well, when I get up to the booth, first of all, the person that I was talking to, she really didn't know how to help.
No. It was almost like she's never, experienced someone having a Silver Dollar City pass before.
Yeah, that's problem number 2. It's like either I'm the only one that even knows this exists, or people have been frustrated by it like I was and don't even use it anymore. Because she literally, and maybe, who knows, maybe she was new. Maybe that was her first day. I can't speculate on that. So we'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she was new, had never run into this before. Fine. So she has to go and get a manager to figure. Haley's ticket wasn't a problem, but when I tried to explain my 2 day ticket, she didn't know how to handle that. So she has to go and get a manager. So she goes and gets a manager, and the manager basically says they can't give me any kind of discount on a 2 day ticket. The only thing they can do is give me 2 1 day tickets at half off. And to me, that just doesn't make any sense. Because if it's only $20 extra for other people to go to the park a second day, why is my discount ticket any different? Her reasoning was, well, you're getting such a good discount on the first day, I can't give you that kind of discount on the second day. Why not? Everyone else gets the discount for going a second day. Why does me having a season pass punish me for going a second day? That doesn't make any sense to me. Because that is what essentially that ended up being is, okay, now I buy 2 $89 tickets at half off. So now I'm only getting a $20 discount on my 2 day pass. So by going 2 days, I got a less of a discount than I should have. It's a terrible system. Apparently, I am the first one to ever try to go to the park 2 days and use the discount because it is... I'm just getting frustrated about it, talking about it now because... Breathe, Nathan. I need a drink.
Oh, jeez.
Drink a Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Let that be known.
It's outdated, and it really shows that Hershend is like, as far as operations, are like 5 to 10 years behind all the other chains, because all the other parks have got this figured out and just says, okay, well, if we're going to offer this to people, like, let's just make it so they pay a flat rate and they can go to all the parks. And Hershen's like, and then I try to get a discount, and they're like, well, you're getting too much of a discount. I'm like, you're already charging more to go to this park than to go to Cedar Fair's Crown Jewel Park. Like, give me a break. So it was just a frustrating start to the trip. And I don't know, I'm over it now. Talking about it, I'm getting heated about it again. But I'm over it now because I did have a great time at the park, which we're going to get into now. But it's just something I want to bring up, that if you are going to try to get the Hershend discount, it's really only worth it if you're going to only spend 1 day at the park. Like when I go to Kentucky Kingdom this week, it's actually going to be a really great benefit because I'm going to get into Kentucky Kingdom for like $20, which is awesome. So it's going to work perfectly because I'm only at Kentucky Kingdom one day. But right. For Dollywood, it was just frustrating and cost more than it should have. So anyway, there's my 2 cents on that. But let's dive into the atmosphere of the park. I've given my spiel, so I want to hear what you thought about the atmosphere of the park.
Silver Dollar City.
Okay. I felt it was different than Silver Dollar City. There were parts that were the same, but like the front of the park feels more modern to me. Like not modern, but more modern than Silver Dollar City's.
Your mom and I described it as like Silver Dollar City's Main Street USA.
I can see that where it's like, kind of like, because Silver Dollar City doesn't really have like when you walk into the park, it's just kind of this big open area with like it kind of splits off into different parts.
It's more like a village.
Yeah, and it feels more rustic and like cabins and things like that. Where Dollywood was more like if you went to a big city in the 1880s, right? And like you're walking down a street with shops lining the left and right side. So a different feel to that aspect, but in other parts of the park, it felt just like Silver Dollar City.
Very much so.
So, yeah, I agree with that. Now, I will say that the layout of the park is a little strange. Because, like, we got lost a couple times that first day.
Oh, I didn't.
No, because, like, when we were... So at one point, Haley went to go find a place where she could get some food. Because if you don't know, she has some food allergies. And we'll talk about food in a minute. But at one point, you went over to Wildwood Grove. And that's kind of where you found some food that you could have was over in Wildwood Grove. And we were over by, I think...
Which I'll get into that, too.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So I think we were over by Mystery Mine at that point. And so we started walking towards the back of the park. And we got all the way up to, like, where Fire Chaser Express is before I realized, I don't think we're going the right way. Because, like, to get to Wildwood Grove, you kind of have to, like, walk all the way down the hill and then back up the hill going on a different path. So I was kind of surprised there wasn't a path that went around the backside of Thunderhead up into Wildwood Grove. It felt like Wildwood Grove was kind of out on its own and it was kind of hard to get to. Yeah. Which is frustrating because that's like the most popular part of the park right now with all the new rides that are over there. So.
I found it because I opened the map on the app and I just had directions.
Well, who uses the map?
Your directionally challenged wife.
Well, I should have been using it clearly because I am also directionally challenged.
That's one of the things. They're not the only park that does this, but, they have a map that you can pull open and, like, when you click on direction bits, it gives you walking directions.
Yeah. The app worked pretty good for me. The ride wait times on the app were quite finicky.
Oh,
I didn't notice. Well, like what day was it? I can't remember. It was one of the 2 days we were there. It was like 11:30, like an hour and a half after the park had opened, and wait times were still not being displayed on the app. But they have like signs around the park that like list some of the wait times. And those were showing wait times, so I was like, "Why is that not showing up on the app?" Anyway, but the map worked fine on the app. So.
Right.
Anyway, so.
Right, so I went up, to Wildwood Grove, and I said I liked Wildwood Grove. I think the best atmosphere-wise, like it was very, almost a whimsical feeling, and
I think that's what they're going for, and I think it's really
like almost like a fairy garden.
Yeah, it's really fun, and like. That's definitely that theme is kind of something different from what Silver Dollar City has. I don't think they really have anything like that. So, because if I'm just looking at the two parks, Silver Dollar City has a good portion of the stuff is kind of rustic and kind of 1880s mining town type of feel. There's a little bit of steampunk in there with Wildfire and Time Traveler. You get a little bit of a steampunk vibe.
There's a little bit of like the fire.
You get Fireman's Landing, yep. So, which you do get some of that at Dollywood too with Fire Chaser Express. That kind of I don't think you even went to that part of the park, but it's kind of a similar feel over there. It's not as big though as Fireman's Landing is, because Fireman's Landing is like a whole, like with a bunch of rides, and Fire Chaser Express was like the only one themed to firefighting, I think.
Yeah.
So, but then, and then they have the Grand Exposition over at Silver Dollar City, which felt similar to the Country Fair at Dollywood. Like the kids section. Yeah, they kind of had similar feels with similar types of rides there. Yeah. So those kind of felt very, very much the same. But the only thing that's kind of strange to me about, because this is where Dollywood kind of steps away from Silver Dollar City, in my opinion, is Dollywood has those parts of the park that feel like old mining town. But then it has a 1950s section of the park over by where Lightning Rod is and all of that. So, which Silver Dollar City, I think, has done a very good job of sticking to their 1880s theme. Where Dollywood kind of jumps around a little bit, which is fine. I mean, Disney parks do the same thing. It's, it's fine to have different themed areas. But it was just kind of interesting to me. It's that Dollywood has been willing to venture into different.
And call me crazy, but it might be because when they originally built Dollywood, it was just Silver Dollar City. But I think that new that section that is like the lightning rod and the cars is after they bought it with Dolly.
It's definitely because lightning rod is really new. I was going to say
like if you think about it, like Dolly was like 19.
Yeah, she would have grown up in that 1950s era. Why. So.
Because there's that like little section too that they haven't opened yet, or like her tour bus is there.
Oh yeah, that where the new Dolly Museum is going to be, and the Dolly Parton Experience or whatever it is back.
So that might be reason why they have that section over there, anyways.
Yeah. So. Well, and now that I'm thinking about it, Big Bear Mountain doesn't fit into an 1880s theme either, because like the whole ride is based off of like you're driving through the woods in a Jeep. So. Right. They've clearly kind of stepped away from the original Silver Dollar City theme, which is fine. I think it's fine for both parks to have a little bit of their own identity. Right. And I think the Dollywood's kind of. I think both parks are kind of finding their niche, where Silver Dollar City is kind of sticking to. And well, to be fair, you could look at things at Silver Dollar City and say like, well, that is not 1880s, like. There's probably things in, I mean, like, you'd look at Fire in the Hole, but there's probably stuff in there that's probably not, 1880s. I don't know. Maybe it was, but.
Who knows?
I didn't grow up in the 1880s, so I can't say for certain.
Guess I'll have to ask somebody.
So, but I did like the atmosphere of the park. I think just the getting over, because the other thing was like. If you go down the right side of the park, when you get into the entrance, you go down the right side of the park, you just take that. There's like a big long path that goes all the way to the back of the park, and you pass Lightning Rod, and
you said it was kind of like a big triangle.
The park does kind of make a triangle shape, because if you go all the way to the back, that's where Tennessee Tornado is, and Blazing Fury all the way in the back. And then once you get to that corner, if you take a left, that's kind of what takes you over to. Fire Chaser Express, and if you keep going over to, Wildwood Grove, and then the whole left side of the park, if you go left at the beginning of the park, you go up this path that's like really windy, and there's parts that are kind of steep as you're walking up the hill. Just was kind of a strange thing that like that whole left side of the park is kind of, it's like a 10-minute walk, probably not 10 minutes, probably like a 5-minute walk. All the way back until you finally hit Thunderhead, and then you finally, hit some of the rides up there. Just kind of strange. I don't know if there's a better way they can handle that layout or, anyway, yeah. So, but I like the atmosphere of the park. It was, it was fun. So,
yeah,
very good.
Yeah, I liked the umbrellas.
Oh yeah, so they had the flower
and food.
Flower and Food Festival, I think they're calling it. It's very pretty. They have like a big like a bunch of hanging umbrellas over
they have really pretty topiaries there too. Like, kind of gave me Epcot vibes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I stopped and looked at a couple of the topiaries, and they're really cool. Definitely, like, they have like more like your woodland creature kind of feel topiaries, which I thought was kind of fun and true to the park, because I think they were, going for that.
Yeah.
The bears and the raccoons and flowers and butterflies, like very woodsy theme. But they were cute. I liked them. Parker liked the raccoon ones. If I remember correctly, I think it was the raccoon ones he kept pointing to.
He definitely pointed out the bees too.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
The bees. So, but the umbrellas were cool. I think the only thing is we wish that we would have taken the photo op earlier in the day.
Yeah, because they don't do it. They don't do it the whole day.
Right,
I don't.
They
That was
closed
very.
early
That was kind of
photo
weird.
op, which we were like, oh,
So
we weren't planning on that.
Yeah,
we were
so
planning on getting the photo op later in the day.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna have a photo op for just a certain period of the day, do it later in the day, because when
make
people
that well informed.
Yeah, because when people are getting into the park, they're especially early in the day, they're probably trying to get to a ride before the lines get crazy. At least that's how we do it, right?
Right.
So,
and there was a couple that was in front of us that, while we were waiting, I think for tickets or something, that said, we're just here to look at all the topiaries. So there are people that do go to this park just for the atmosphere and food, but I think even Silver Dollar's the same way. They go for shopping and the atmosphere.
I did notice that there were the crowds at both parks are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because they're both like family style parks in a touristy area.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a lot of families that are there, and then you get a few coaster people like myself. And then you also get a lot of elderly people that are just there for the shows and the shopping.
Right.
It's kind of a different vibe than like a Cedar Fair or a Six Flags. It's a very different crowd that's at those parks versus.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
I agree. So, I think, like I said, just make sure it's well known, like if you're going to advertise the umbrellas, and have a photo op, have it be like on the app, have set times, and they didn't have set times for the photo op.
Yeah.
So I think that was like one of my complaints too, is I wish they would have been more obvious with letting us know that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
So.
Anything else with the atmosphere?
Dolly wasn't there.
Missed her by like a few days. We were there. So Big Bear Mountain opened Friday. I can pull it up, I suppose. So Big Bear Mountain opened Friday the 12th, I believe. I think,
right.
Yeah. And we were there the 17th and the 18th. So we were so close. Haley wanted to see her so bad. But
I knew she wasn't going to be there after she was already there on the 12th. I was like, dang it! So that would have been cool. Yeah. Oh well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's talk about food. So I want to get the names of the places we went to. So let me open up the.
Yeah, I feel like you even went to more than I did.
Well, I did just because I was there that second day, so I went to a couple places that second day. Let's see. So the first place we went. Oh, where's I gotta find it.
It was the place up in.
Because it's up in Wildwood Grove.
Right. I can't remember what it was called.
It was this one, right? Till and Harvest Food Hall. That sounds right.
That sounds
It says
right.
Wildwood Grove there. So we went to Till and Harvest Food Hall. Right. I'll kind of let Haley take the lead on this one.
Well, because Nathan asked me to find a place to eat, and it was right after I went to the restroom, and Wildwood Grove was the closest place to find a restroom. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go there. We'll meet you there. Plus, that's our next stop for riding coasters. And, like, I was looking on the app. I was like, okay, well, where's a place that's close that, has the food allergy friendly stuff for me? And it said, oh, like, on the app it goes, oh, this has gluten-free vegan options. So I was all excited. I was like, oh, they're going to really have some, options for me. And we get there, and it's not even advertised on the menu that there was a gluten-free vegan option, which I noticed through a couple other spots in the park there was advertised things on the actual menu.
Well, and it's interesting because we've got it open up on the computer here. It
Right.
even says right there, gluten-free buns and vegetarian hamburgers available upon request.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so
I didn't see
I don't
that
know.
when I got there. So I was
It's
like,
very strange.
okay. So when I asked her, like, they were pretty good. Like, they had an allergy binder, but
Which is more than Kings Island had.
right. But like the lady, like, had no idea what she was talking about, and I wanted to talk to a chef or a manager that like have her walk me through it, but no one came out. It was kind of me just guessing on what was going to be best for me, kind of thing.
Well, and the way it's set up, it's like one of those places where you go and you order with the cashier,
Right.
and then you walk up to the counter and they give you your food.
Right.
So as we're sitting there trying to figure out what Haley wants, we're also holding up people behind us that
Right.
want to go to the cashier and
Yeah.
order. So it's always nice when the chef comes out and you can just kind of step to the side with the chef and put something together.
Right.
If you haven't listened to our King's Dominion trip report from last year, King's Dominion, other than like Disney, because Disney,
Right.
we usually do sit downs, and even at the quick service, they
do a great
they
job
really
at quick
figure it out,
service.
so.
Manager comes out and talks
what's
to
that?
me.
What's that place in Toy Story Land?
Woody's
Woody's. Oh
Toy
gosh,
Box?
I think it's Woody's Toy Box.
I don't know. They have a
Di-
new
Disney-
restaurant now too, so I can't remember.
Oh, is it Woody's? Woody's Lunchbox.
That's
That
what it
makes
was.
more sense.
Yeah.
Woody's Lunchbox. We've been there twice now
Mhm.
when we've been at Disney, and
It's a quick service.
It's quick service, but they have been so
They've
awesome.
been great.
Of like someone just literally came out, talked to Haley, and put together something specifically for her.
Yeah.
It's just so cool. So,
Right.
so Disney is like the epitome of
Yeah, Disney's
allergy-friendly
the crown
foods. But
Jewel of allergy.
but out of
foods,
the other parks we've been to, King's Dominion was
they
fantastic.
were rocking it.
They were so good with
Mhm.
helping Haley with her allergies. And granted, the parks were pretty dead, or the park was pretty dead the 2 days that we were at King's Dominion, so maybe that played a part into that. Meanwhile, King's Island we went to the next week, and it was insane. So I don't know if that played a part into that, but
It could have.
it could have. But they were so good. Like that. Out of all the parks we've been to, minus Disney, I think King's Dominion has been the epitome of that is what we're kind of expecting. Or maybe not expecting, but hoping for, I would say.
Right.
So Dollywood kind of fell somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Kings Island, I would say, is the bottom, like the worst park we've had
Right.
an experience with. And then Dollywood falls kind of somewhere in the middle there, I would
Right.
say, because they at least had a binder, right?
Right. So I went with the black bean taco stuffed sweet potato and just like kind of took things out to
Yeah.
make it Haley friendly.
Which is ultimately what I ended up ordering too, because it sounded
Right.
really good.
Right. So I got it. And Nathan you really liked it, but I was like,
It was
kind of like
the topping, like the black bean and the
Yeah, the
stuff,
black bean
the things
mixed
that
in.
it was stuffed with, I thought was incredible.
Right.
It was so good. But then once you started eating the potato with it, I was like, these don't
doesn't
go together.
Didn't go together. I
Both-
feel like
Both
you have
Haley,
a regular potato.
yes, both Haley and I said a regular potato would have been better.
Perfect. Yeah.
So
Yeah, so that was frustrating. The other thing that was frustrating is they have a gluten-free brownie, but I like, come on. If you're gonna have something that's like a dessert and you're advertising like vegan things at other places, freaking get a dessert. It's not that hard. Like, I can give you a whole list of allergy-friendly desserts to have at a park, and they didn't. So I was like, that's rude. You can have a gluten-free brownie, but you can't make it dairy-free and egg-free. Rude. So, anyways, so that was my 2 cents there. I was like, it's okay. Wasn't super impressed.
Yeah. So then later in the day, you went to that pizza place.
Right.
Over by Mystery Mine.
There's 2 different pizza places. And so when we were walking around and we just passed this place on the app.
Was it Lumberjacks or Iron Horse? Where I gotta look at the map to actually figure out. This one says vegan pizzas on it.
Yeah, so this is what I was struggling with. Is on the app, it didn't say...
Oh, they both say vegan pizzas, actually.
Right, but like the one... I can't remember what it was. Anyways, for some reason I thought on the app it didn't have listed that there was a vegan gluten-free pizza at the one place. But then when I passed it and I saw it on the menu, I was like, oh, like they actually do have it here kind of thing.
Okay, so it was over in Timber Canyon, so it must have been Lumberjack's Pizza right here.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, so we passed it and I was like, actually that sounds really good. I think I'm going to stop and get one. And, I mean, it was good. It was just a day of pizza, so it wasn't anything like sing praises over because I've had it before, but
it was good though.
It was decent.
Like I feel like probably just cause they probably would fire it.
Oh yeah,
which makes it better than just baking it here.
It did taste a little bit different, but I would say it wasn't like anything to like. I don't know. It wasn't melon mushroom, which we had later on in the trip.
No, we actually had that earlier because we went to
you're right.
the island on Tuesday that week, and we went to melon mushroom over there. So
you're right. So, yum.
Melon mushroom. If you want vegan pizza, melon mushroom. If you want vegan gluten-free pizza, melon mushroom's where it's at. So good.
So good. Man, you're gonna make me. Pregnant.
We're gonna drive 45 minutes tomorrow to go get some melon mushroom.
Yes, please. Yes, please. So, anyways, like I think those are really the only 2 places I ate. I
was trying to think where I got dinner
because we didn't eat dinner that night. There, we left.
Right. So did I
We
must have gotten a
Chick-fil-A that night.
snack somewhere, but I can't remember.
I don't know. I got Dippin' Dots a few times that day too. Which Dippin' Dots, it's nice because the one safe option is they have rainbow ice, which is basically just, I think it's just sherbet.
Okay. I remembered what the snack was that I got. So after we got off Wild Eagle, we went over towards Tennessee Tornado just to see if Levi wanted to ride it, and he said no, but we just were kind of sitting there watching it, and I basically told everybody, you're probably not going to like it as much as everything else you went on today. So I'm fine riding this tomorrow if you guys just want to, be done with roller coasters for the day. So, but when we went over to Tennessee Tornado, they actually have a little food truck park over there.
Oh, cool.
So like, local places can bring their food trucks in. They can, set up shop over there by Tennessee Tornado. And there was a couple of them there. One of them was like gourmet pretzels. And it was so good. So that was what I got for my snack.
Are they on here? Was it on?
It does. Well, I don't know what it was called, but you can see 64 right here on the map. It's a food truck park.
Oh man, I could have gone and found more stuff there. That would have been cool.
I mean, maybe they may have not even had anything for you. I'm not sure. So, but yeah. Nice. So that was the snack that we had. But you guys at that point were here. So you were literally as far away as possible from
there was no way I was hiking over there.
Yes, very far. So
nice.
So I think that was all the food that we did the first day. Because the park closed at 7, so I think we went and got some dinner afterwards, just at Chick-fil-A or whatever.
I think it was Chick-fil-A that night.
Yeah. So then when I went back the second day, I went what's this place called? I think it's Hickory House Barbecue is the place I went to. That looks right. That looks like the right place on the map.
I think you told me about that too. Like that's where you went.
It was really good. They, living in the South, we obviously have lots of barbecue here. And so
I don't get
but
it.
what?
I don't get how many barbecue places there are. I'm like, how many? I guess, like, being from Pennsylvania, it just is like, barbecue's like kind of a one and done kind of flavor.
When Haley and I were dating, she's like, I don't really like barbecue that much. And I'm like, that's because you haven't had real barbecue. You've had fake barbecue. And to be fair, when I took you to my favorite place here locally, you were like, okay, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
but again, I still to this day don't understand why there's so many. I'm like, it's barbecue. Like, there's not much.
They all claim they have the best sauce, Haley.
Whatever.
But this place was really good. They had a bunch of sandwiches there that looked really tasty. I ended up getting the brisket sandwich, and it was very good. So I don't have too much more to say than that. It was just a little quick service place. But they did have like a shaded seating area that was like, a couple 100 feet away or whatever, and so that was nice to just get a break from the sun.
Yeah, I will say that there was quite a bit of shaded spots to sit. I mean, me and your mom sat in one spot for like two and a half hours.
That little bench over by Thunderhead.
Well, because we were scared. We were like, we don't know what this park is going to look like. So we were like, we're sitting here and we're not moving. Because we were just so worried that like...
You'd get over to Fire Chaser and then there'd be like no shaded spots. No
seating.
Which is unfortunate because there was actually like...
the rocking chairs that you guys were telling us about.
Little,
oh, dang it.
Just like King's Dominion had, yeah.
Right. But Parker was asleep at that point, sort of like, we're not moving.
Just let him sleep, yep.
Stay in this spot. And it worked out because then we didn't have to walk all the way back to get to the country fair place, because that's where we went after that.
Yeah.
And let Parker we were like, oh, we'll put him on kid rides. Yeah, that was the big...
I don't know. So we took Parker to Silver Dollar City in November, and he rode his first 2 roller coasters there. He rode the Grand Exposition coaster and Fire in the Hole.
Yeah. And I don't know
so, and he seemed... I don't know. But it was really Barnstormer when we took him on Barnstormer at Disney.
He was not a fan.
He did not like it. But he rode a lot of stuff at Disney.
Yeah.
But when we went to the island it's in Pigeon Forge, right? I think so. We went to the island, and they have a few flat rides over there, and so we bought like the $30 pass to let him ride all the rides, and he refused to get on any of the rides. And
we bought it.
Yeah, that was
literally walked over to ride. No. So try the different one that was like super, like, show them it's just a tractor, like.
It literally doesn't even go up and down. It just goes in a circle.
Track, yeah.
And he just wasn't having it.
Just not having it. So we're like, well.
So the next day when we went to Dollywood, he rode 2 rides.
3.
Let's see, what was it?
I got him on the little balloon ride with me.
No, it wasn't a balloon ride.
It was the tree acorn ride.
What's it called? Treetop Tower?
Yeah.
I think that's the one.
Yeah.
The Wildwood Tree.
I don't know. Something tree related.
And then...
But he clung on to me for dear life. Like, he was... I don't know why. He was, like, freaking out. Like, just did not... I don't know. I don't know what his deal was. Yeah. But then, so, like, that was that ride. It was the first ride I finally got him on. And then you got him on the bear one. Yeah, he got on Black Bear Trail with me. But it took convincing. It took a little convincing, and, like, I had to bring him in line with me and, like, just kind of show him the ride for, like, 10, 15 minutes. And then as we were getting on, he started trying to get off, and then I was like, it's okay, I'll be right here. And then he kind of settled down a bit. We got buckled in, and then he rode it fine. But there was a couple times I, like, tried to wave at my parents or whatever, and he grabbed my arm and put it back and like, don't let go of me. Don't move. Yeah. So it's if you don't know, I was terrified of roller coasters until I was 16, and a bunch of friends of mine finally got me on Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City.
And so my parents keep telling me this is karma, that he's going to be afraid of amusement park rides.
To see what our daughter's going to be like. Though.
I have no idea. Who knows?
So, but then, his ride that he finally went on and asked to continue to ride over and over.
Oh, that's right. I forgot the
cars.
What's it called? Rockin' Roadway.
Oh, he loved that.
He loved Rockin' Roadway. We just went on it over and over.
Tried putting him on all these different rides at Country Fair. Would not have it.
Nope.
No. Instead, we spent tons of money on the stupid games.
He did win a Yoshi, though.
He didn't win it. He didn't win it. The lady was super nice and gave it to him.
Probably because she realized we had spent $40 worth of game tokens. She's like...
you spent more on the game than you did on the actual toys, so... Yeah. But he had fun with that game. He had fun with the games. The games were kind of the highlight of his day, at least.
Yeah.
So. But...
Anyway, I don't remember where we were going with that. Because we were talking about food. So I'm not sure how we got on this tangent. Anyways,
it's fine. It's fine.
The barbecue was really good. The other thing I got while I was there, because I've heard everyone say you have to get it. And to be fair, they have it at Silver Dollar City, but I've actually never gotten it there either.
Really?
I've never had the cinnamon bread before. Because to me, I'm not crazy about cinnamon. Cinnamon rolls are fine, but if someone says hey, you want a cinnamon roll, I'll be like, yes, I will eat a cinnamon roll. But if I'm at a bakery, that's not what I'm gonna order, if that makes sense. So, but everyone said you gotta get the cinnamon bread. So I did go and get it, and it was very, very good. The only problem is you can only order a loaf, and this loaf is this big. Okay? Which is too much for me. But it also comes in a paper bag filled with butter and grease. So if I tried to put this in my backpack, it's going to get butter and grease everywhere.
Yeah, and that's
so
exactly
I basically have this big old loaf of cinnamon bread, and I either need to eat the whole thing right now or eat some of it and throw the rest away. Or throw it in my bag and get my bag ruined because of all the butter. So I ended up eating 2/3 of it, which was way too much. But I just didn't want to waste so much of it. But then I just I'm not gonna be able to ride anything else the rest of the day if I finish this. And so
what'd you do with it?
I had to throw away.
I would have just given it to someone else.
I thought about that, but I was like, I don't think anybody, because I've just been tearing it apart with my hands, because it's. Basically, the way they bake it is basically it's like a big cinnamon roll that's kind of woven together into a loaf, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I've been pulling it apart with my hands, and so I was like, people probably don't want something that I've had my grubby hands all over, but...
I guess now you know for next time, just maybe cut it in half.
or get it at the very end of the day so that I can take it home or something. I don't know, so...
Which a lot of people do at Silver Dollar City. That place is packed.
Oh, it's slammed. So I ended up going at 4 because I knew by 5:30 it was going to get crazy over there at the grist mill. So, but yeah, so that was kind of my snack. And then Haley and I went to dinner after I left the park that night. So I didn't really get dinner at the park. So yeah, that was the food. We really didn't get to experience a lot of the food just because we were trying to save some money by going to places after the park closed, especially because it closed at 7, so it was not super late where you were starving by the time you left. You just got a snack, and that would hold you over until you left the park and go get dinner back in Pigeon Forge or whatever.
And we did a restaurant, I think, that night or something.
Yeah, we did. So certainly there's some food we didn't get to try, but I think the experience we had with the food was fine. I wouldn't say anything completely blew us out of the water, but it wasn't disappointing, if that makes sense.
Right.
So it was kind of middle of the road. So.
Right. I think that...
I think Silver Dollar Cities is better.
Yeah.
I think Silver Dollar Cities is better.
I really like their skillet.
And to be fair, we've had Silver Dollar Cities more, so we know what we like there.
Yeah, and it's, expected, but
Yeah, but... I guess Kentucky Kingdom has the cinnamon bread too. Now that they're owned by Hershey,
I'm curious. What was the other place that we went to? There was another place that we went to in Silver Dollar City that was like more sit down. Kind of. It was like you got your food and then you went and sat down in the restaurant.
Was it like the burger place we went to?
It might have been.
Because I've only ever been to that restaurant one time, and it was when you and I went for Moonlight Madness.
Might have been that.
Because we also need a place to charge our phones. Mm-hmm. Is that the place that's the one I'm thinking of. I can't actually. Oh, like I said, I've only been there the one time, so I don't actually know what it's called. We always just get the skillet, and then if we're there long enough, we'll do the skillet and the new River House barbecue place.
Right. I've got the app on my phone.
You got. I was just about to open up the map too. So let's see. It's right. It's on Hugo's Hill Street, but it doesn't have the restaurants on this map.
They updated the app for Silver Dollar City.
But, that feels like how I remember it being.
I don't think it was.
I don't know. That looks identical to Dollywood.
Was it Dockside Grill?
That does sound familiar. I think it was.
No, because this is Rivertown, so it's not
never mind. That's not it.
Gosh. What's it called?
Pardon us, guys, while we look this up.
Oh, dear heavens, I can't remember.
No,
Lumber Camp?
It's not. I think it's this. It's this one. It's Wagon Works. That's the one.
That's what it is.
That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, which it was fine. I don't remember being blown away by Wagon Works either, but
yeah. They updated the app on this so that way it tells you like gluten-free vegan or gluten-free dairy-free options, which is different.
I'm just realizing as I'm scrolling through this how little dining options Silver Dollar City has compared to Dollywood.
Right.
Like this list is like maybe half of the length of Dollywood's.
Well, with Dollywood too, they had that food festival, so they had maybe
that's part of it. So
yeah.
Because I mean, as far as sit-down restaurants go, you really only have Rivertown Smokehouse, Molly's Mill,
and the place that we just talked about.
But even the place we talked about was like a place that you like order and then go sit down, which I guess Rivertown is that way too.
Yeah.
So anyway, but the skillets are so good.
Ugh. No, I want one.
Lumber Camp Falls skillet. That's the best one.
I want one now.
There's some other skillets though that we need to try because there's also the Tater Patch skillets and the Buckshot Skillet Cookery. Now, granted, I don't know if you can have whatever at those ones, but anyway. Good stuff. Now I'm hungry.
Amen.
All right. Well, I think that covers atmosphere and food.
Yeah, I don't
really think anything else to talk about. We really didn't do any shows or anything.
No.
We did a little shopping. I wasn't crazy impressed with the shops.
It was so much like Silver Dollar City. There was not really a...
Yeah, there's this thing that's interesting where some parks really go heavy on the merchandise for specific rides.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to... my sister and I are going to do a Worlds of Fun trip report, talk about our trip there. But when she and I went to Worlds of Fun, not every ride, but every roller coaster has merchandise for that roller coaster.
I feel like Cedar Fair does that.
Cedar Fair is fairly good about that, but Worlds of Fun was even over the top. Like, their tiny little spinning coaster had like 4 or 5 shirts.
Wow.
It was crazy. Like, they really just like buckled down and said, we're going to do merchandise for all of our major rides, which is cool. Like, I like that. And Dollywood had stuff for Lightning Rod that was okay. They didn't have a great hat, which was kind of what I was disappointed of. I would have loved to get a nice Lightning Rod hat, but they didn't. They were fine. But then we'll talk about rides in a second here, but I was looking for anything Thunderhead related. I wanted some, like a Thunderhead shirt or hat. And the only thing Thunderhead I saw in the whole store was the Thunderhead Nano Coaster, which isn't really what I was looking for.
Right.
And so I even went on eBay. I can't even find Thunderhead merchandise that people bought 20 years ago when the ride opened, and they're selling it now. So
weird.
It's very weird. Like, I can't find anything Thunderhead. I'm going to make my own. I have my powder keg shirt and a Thunderhead shirt.
Okay.
I don't even know if we've told that story on the podcast before. We probably did in the very first episode, because we did the powder keg episode at the.
We might have done that.
So if you want to hear the story of the powder keg shirt story,
powder keg shirt,
go check out episode 1 of the podcast. So anyway,
funny.
It's an inside joke there, but. So the merchandise was fine. I ended up getting this hat that I'm wearing. It was a nice looking hat.
It is nice looking.
They had a couple others I was considering too, so they had some decent.
I helped you pick it out.
Yeah, so they had some decent Dollywood merchandise, but the rides, there wasn't like a lot of great ride specific stuff. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had some stuff for Big Bear, I guess, but that's the brand new ride, so that kind of makes sense. So.
Yeah.
Anyway. We're almost an hour into this, so we need to talk about rides.
This is all you, my dear.
Yep. Unfortunately, since Haley wasn't able to get on any rides with me, this will be basically just me doing a bunch of talking here. But I did ask for some input from my family members on which rides they liked, and so I'll throw that in here too. I forgot. Usually the coasters... we'll talk non-coaster rides briefly. We didn't do a ton. I know I did not do drop line, but a few of my family members did. I kind of wish I had done it now. Just, I'm not crazy about drop towers, but I kind of wish I had done it.
No thanks.
But my family members that went on it, my sister, my dad, and my brother-in-law.
No, Levi didn't go on it.
No, he's not tall enough.
Yeah.
They all thought it was fantastic. They really enjoyed it. It's a really tall drop tower. It's impressive how big. It's one of the bigger ones in the country, I think. So, yeah, it looked like fun if you're into that sort of thing. Which I'm not. I don't hate it, but I'm not like, I don't know. It's fine. So, but yeah.
I feel like Parker's gonna like drop towers because he likes that mini kid one at Silver Dollar City.
Well, he liked it. Who knows if he'd even get on it now?
We need to do a Silver Dollar City trip.
We really do. We got the passes before Haley got pregnant, and then she got pregnant in February before the park opened. So it was kind of.
We're gonna go in November.
We definitely are for November. We need to go at least 1 or 2 other times to make the passes actually worth the money we paid for them. So, well, we have to go to make sure we get those last rides on Fire in the Hole for sure. So
that's true. Which I mean, we've talked about it. I think the only thing I said that I was worried about was the walking with me being pregnant. So
yeah, so we'll have to figure it out. Well, speaking of Fire and Hole, usually for the roller coasters, we go from, using the coaster bot rankings, we go from bottom to top. So, obviously, the bottom coaster is their kiddie coaster, Whistle Punk Chaser, so I won't even bother talking about that one, though I did get the credit.
Of course you did.
So, Blazing Fury, which is essentially Fire in the Hole's carbon copy, it was amazing how similar they really are. Because the story and like the animatronics and the different scenes are completely different. But as you're writing it, you can tell that like the ride experience is identical. It's just copy paste. So from every turn is the same. Like there's that part in Fire in the Hole where you make that left turn, and there's Ned Flanders is like, I don't have my pants no more. The dang ball knobber stole them. Like that scene.
Right, is so weird.
When you go on Blazing Fury, you make a left turn and there's another house with another scene that's happening that's completely different. But you can tell like this is where the Ned Flanders scene is in Fire in the Hole. So, and then like you still go over for the first drop, you still go through a bridge that's collapsing. Though Blazing Fury actually has a cool feature where the ceiling like closes in on top of you. So it kind of gives the illusion that the bridge is collapsing underneath you, which is something that Fire in the Hole, if it does do, it doesn't anymore. So I don't know if that used to be a feature, now it's gone. And then the second drop, same story, is like there's like a train coming at you is kind of the illusion that they give. But then the last drop, it still yells out Fire in the Hole.
Which is so funny.
Which is funny because that's not what it's called. It's called, it has a different name, but it still says Fire in the Hole.
Did it used to be called Fire in the Hole?
I think so.
So we might have just not changed
let
it.
Let us consult RCDB. I think it did used to be called Fire in the Hole. Oh, actually, it doesn't say it used to be. I guess it's been called Blazing Fury the whole time. Interesting. So they copied it and pasted from, Silver Dollar City. Still kept the Fire in the Hole, thing at the very end, but then named it completely different. That's an interesting decision. So, but anyway, the only difference is the last drop. There's not a splashdown anymore. They had to, for some reason, Blazing Fury was having problems with the water, and so they don't have a splashdown anymore. But they did add like some fog machines and stuff to kind of still give it a fun little effect as you go into that last drop. So,
okay.
Anyway, so things that were different about it, but the ride experience is identical. So it was kind of a weird. So it was kind of a surreal experience. My brother-in-law got off the ride, and he was just like, "Okay, Fire in the Hole 2.0." Like, I don't think I probably didn't say that, but it was basically it's like, just wow, that is literally copy and paste. Like, it's really funny. So, next on the list is Dragon Flyer, the inverted coaster over in Wildwood Grove.
I remember you guys getting on that.
I was actually really impressed with Dragon Flyer. Like, it's obviously not going to shatter any records, but the other Vekoma suspended, what do they call them? Family suspended coasters? I can't remember exactly what they're called. But the other ones that I've been on have not been that good. There's one at Kings Island and one at Carowinds. I'm remembering this right, that these are also Vekomas, right? Flying Ace. Oh, am I boring you?
No, it's just 11
It's 11 to 10. Yeah, okay, so it's the same model that's at Kings Island and at Carowinds, and both of those were so bumpy. And,
I remember you telling me about that too. It's like you just, because I didn't.
Well, because the nickname that the enthusiasts have given them are Vekoma Hangin' Bangs. Is the nickname.
Right, and I was like, absolutely not. So, because I already get really bad headaches.
Now, granted, Flying Ace Aerial Chase was built in 2001 versus Dragonfly was built in 2019. So that might be part of that.
Might
but
definitely be part of that. Yeah.
So, but it was a lot of fun, and the first drop goes underground and then pops back out, and so that was pretty fun. And anyway, it was a fun ride. So nothing to write home about, but like I would ride it again for sure. Where these other ones,
you'll get to ride it whenever I go back with you.
Yeah. We just got to make sure to somehow, because that ride gets a really long line. So
really,
the way that these Vekoma suspended family coasters work is because they're so short, they can only run one train at a time. So you have to wait a full cycle before you can load more people on, which makes the what is it? Yeah, capacity on this one is only 650 riders per hour, which is that is terrible. That is so low. So next up is Fire Chaser Express. This was so you guys didn't go to this section of the park, so you didn't really get to see this ride. It has a really, really cool layout. So it's very unique here. I'm going to pull this up for you because you didn't actually get to see this, but it's a very, very unique coaster and something that I've never really seen before. Now, granted, I knew what to expect going into it, but so this is the station for the ride. It only has an opening on one side of the station, because the train leaves, like it launches out forwards, and when the train comes back into the station, it comes in backwards.
Oh, weird.
So it's like a full circuit, and they can run multiple trains at a time, but it leaves the station going forward and comes back in backwards. So essentially the layout, you like launch forwards and you go through this little section of track, go up the lift hill and then some more winding sections. And then you go into this little shed where there's like a fire in like a shed with like some big fireworks. And so then like there's like a fire effect that happens on one side and then this big firework falls down and points right at you. And then it explodes and you launch backwards out of this into a different portion of the track. So it has like these...
So it's a backwards ride too.
Mm-hmm. So it has these switch tracks that switch you... So like you come in, so there's like two tracks that kind of come together like this, right?
Right.
So you come in like this, and then the switch track flips so that when you leave, you come back out this way.
Oh.
So by doing that, it's still a complete circuit, and they can still have multiple trains on the track, but it's not like you don't go through the station. You just go in, you leave the station, and come in the same direction, or not the same direction, but through the same entrance. So. It's very unique. I've never seen another coaster like it. The sad part is I did not like it that much.
Really?
It was so bumpy.
Okay, well,
so bumpy. And it was so disappointing because the launches were actually pretty forceful. They actually kind of caught me off guard because it's meant to be a family coaster, and it still is. So, but the launches were more than I anticipated, and they were pretty fun launches. But man, was it bumpy for a coaster that was built, what was it? It was built 9 years ago. So, and it was bumpier than like Mystery Mine, which was built before it. I don't know. It was kind of a weird thing. I was not expecting how bumpy it is. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know if maybe I just got a bad ride, but it was so bumpy. So that kind of took away from the experience for me. So
it's a bummer.
Yeah, so it's all right. So next up is Mystery Mine, which...
You told me this ride was very strange.
It is very strange. It's kind of like a fever dream roller coaster, because like...
Okay.
Because it's like part roller coaster, part dark ride. More so than like a Fire in the Hole, where Fire in the Hole is like 90% dark ride. Mystery Mine's like 50-50. Maybe even more like 25 dark ride, 75 roller coaster. So you start off by, there's a little drop right out of the station, but then it comes back up and it does like kind of this weaving roller coaster track as there's like some music and laughing going on in the background. And then you go into the first vertical lift hill that takes you up and then takes you into that section, that outdoor section that's it's kind of slow, but it has like some little turns and dips here and there. So it was fine. I mean, it was nothing super thrilling, but it was fun. I don't know. It was kind of like
a family coaster.
And it was kind of like a Wild Mouse where like it's not like scaring you, but it's still like, okay, this is kind of fun.
Right.
So then it goes through that section, comes back inside, and has a little bit more... Actually, I don't even think there's some more theming before you hit the second lift hill. But then you hit that second lift hill, and it takes you up, and there's actually a video screen up on the ceiling that like plays a video as if the mine shaft is collapsing on top of you. And then as you reach the vertical lift hill, you come up, and then it holds you. And then there's like a fire that like starts up in front of you. And then as the fire like explodes, you go diving down the big drop.
Oh.
And then you come out of the building and you go into the barrel roll followed by the dive loop, which is the only two inversions. And then that goes right into the brake run. So it's a very interesting ride that's kind of like little bits of roller coaster split up with dark ride and show elements.
Which I think is so interesting. I've never heard of a coaster doing something like this before. So.
It is very strange because Gerstlauer does lots of it's the Eurofire model that it's actually, now that I think about it, it's the first Eurofire I've been on. I've been on their Infinity coaster like at Knott's Berry Farm. but it's very unique and kind of custom built for Dollywood. I guess this is kind of what they wanted, was a dark ride coaster experience. So it's very different from anything else Gerstlauer has done. But I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite at the park. We'll get into my rankings in a minute, but it was definitely a lot of fun. So next up is Wild Eagle, which is the wing coaster. This is now the second wing coaster I've been on. The first one would have been Gatekeeper at Cedar Point was the first one. Gatekeeper is better, I will say that, which makes sense. It's bigger, faster, newer.
Right. That's kind of the neat.
Yeah, it has the near miss elements, which is something that Wild Eagle is missing. Wild Eagle was the first one, so I think later on they kind of figured that they could do those like near miss elements, which is pretty cool. But Wild Eagle doesn't really have that. Now it is really pretty because it's like kind of out in the trees, out on its own, but it's also on top of the mountain that's kind of or the hill that's kind of in the middle of the park.
Did you see any bears?
No bears, so. But it was a lot of fun, and I did get a front row ride on Wild Eagle where I didn't get that on Gatekeeper, and that was a lot of fun to just kind of, as you get over the first lift hill, just to be hanging with nothing underneath you, and it was a lot of fun. So
I don't know if I like that or hate it. So
it was a typical B&M roller coaster. Very smooth, very graceful. It's a very, very solid coaster. Very good. Number 3 at the park is actually Tennessee Tornado. And this is kind of a weird one because I've heard enthusiasts rave about Tennessee Tornado, and just saying that like the first drop that goes into the mountain is really, really good. And then, there's also it has a unique element on it that was the first of its kind. The Sidewinder element. Actually, you can see the picture of it here. So it's kind of like, you go into this corkscrew that turns into a loop, kind of like a dive loop, I guess, and then you come out of it into like this Immelman. So it's a very kind of a weird shaped element that you have going on here. So it was fine. It's definitely showing its age. It was built in 1999, so it's almost 25 years old. Has the over-the-shoulder restraints, so I don't think you'd be crazy about it.
Nope.
The headbanging wasn't terrible, but it wasn't. I don't know. To me, it wasn't like, I think if people were going to...
Would it be worth it for me to ride it at least once?
It might be something that when we go back next time, I ride it first, because this thing never has a line. Mm-hmm. So I could ride it first and then make a call depending on how bad the headbanging was.
Got it.
So,
okay.
But I don't know. You're not going to be missing out on anything, in my opinion. I don't quite get the hype surrounding it. Like, and you can see, we talked about this during our Coaster Bot episode. It dropped 25 spots in the Coaster Bot rankings this past year. So I think it's starting to lose some of its charm.
Got it.
Among the enthusiast community. It's fine. I'd ride it again, but I'm not like blown away by it by some enthusiasts. I don't quite get the hype surrounding it. So now on the flip side, the next ride is Thunderhead, and I totally get the hype around Thunderhead. Thunderhead was my biggest surprise from Dollywood.
Do you have a picture of it?
Yeah, so Thunderhead is the wooden coaster.
Because I don't even think I passed that one.
Well, no, it was the one that you sat in the shade outside, right next to. There you go. So here's Thunderhead. So Thunderhead's built by GCI, the same company that built Wildcat and Mystic Timbers. There's some of the GCIs you've been on. A Lightning Racer at Hershey Park. we've talked in the past about how I've never really been crazy about wood coasters. Like, I don't dislike them.
Right.
But some enthusiasts are like, Mystic Timbers is the best ride at Kings Island. Meanwhile, I rank it like 4th.
Right.
behind Orion and Banshee and Diamondback and, etc. So I've always kind of been of the opinion that wood coasters are fine, but they're not my favorite.
Right.
Thunderhead really surprised me. I remember after the first ride, just being like, wow, that was so much better than I thought it was going to be. And I've heard that they have done a lot of retracking work over the last couple of years. So I think it's running really, really well compared to how like a Wildcat. Wildcat is was just painful before they did the RMC conversion.
I'm so excited to ride it.
But this is like a wood coaster that I would say don't ever RMC it, because it's just so good.
Yeah. Don't mess with perfection.
As it is so good. And
right.
It's a really long ride, and there's so much airtime. And there'd be moments of airtime where you hit the airtime and then it's like switches direction, so you're kind of like getting whipped side to side.
Is it kind of like Jackrabbit in that sense, or?
Well, no, because Jackrabbit's airtime is just straight up and down.
Oh, okay.
It's more like Outlaw Run has an airtime moment where it's banking to the left as you're going over, and then during the airtime hill it banks to the right. So you get out of your seat, but then it like you're moving from left to right as you're hanging up in the air out of your seat. So, and it just has so many good moments of airtime, and it was just so much fun. I rode it, I think 3 times, and I rode it, I think twice in the front and once in the back, and all 3 rides, I was just like, it's not a fluke. I really, really love this ride.
Yeah.
To the point that I told you I was looking for Thunderhead merchandise because I'd already looked at Lightning Rod and I was like, meh. But I loved Thunderhead so much that I was like, I'd be okay getting a Thunderhead hat, but no, they have nothing. So...
well, I just need to make her own Thunderhead shirt.
So you can see in the rankings in CoasterBot, Thunderhead ranks at 68 in the country, which is pretty good for a wooden coaster. I think it's probably top 10 in the wood category as far as the country is concerned. And then Lightning Rod ranks at number 6. The two of them are much closer together in my rankings than I would have ever anticipated. Thunderhead was my biggest surprise for sure. I really loved it. More than Mystic Timbers. Which I've seen, I literally, that was my big tweet that I made from Dollywood was, Thunderhead is better than Mystic Timbers. that was my big tweet. And I actually had a lot of people that agreed with me on that, but
really?
I did have a few that were like, no.
Don't talk to me ever again. So you're banned.
No. Blasphemy. So. And then obviously the big number 1 at the park, and then we'll talk about the new coaster. The big number 1 at the park is Lightning Rod. Now, Lightning Rod was the very first ride that we went on.
Because it's right at the front of the park.
Right. It's right at the front of the park, and I know it's got terrible downtime problems, so I was like, we need to get this done just in case it breaks down and is closed the rest of the trip. So I was like, we're going straight to Lightning Rod. And sure enough, when we got there, it had broken down. So
there's something that they can do to fix that.
They have tried. They've tried for 6 years.
That's so sad.
8 years. 8 years. 7. 7 years. They've tried for 7 years, and they're still trying to make this. Anyway, it's a long story, but and it was fantastic. It was totally worth all the hype that I've heard surrounding it. Now, when I ultimately sat down and did my rankings, I actually did put Twisted Timbers above Lightning Rod, which I think a lot of people would disagree with, but I think I feel like it would be a 60-40 split if you asked enthusiasts. Because Twisted Timbers does rank really high. Timbers. But, well, it's RMC. You know it's going to be good.
I mean, it's still my number 1, I think.
I think the most surreal experience with Lightning Rod First of all, the launched lift hill is a crazy experience. To be going up the hill and going faster and faster, never really experienced something like that on a coaster before. And then the only issue I had, there's one spot on the track up at the top of the mountain as you're going through. There's one spot that I rode it 4 times, and all 4 times there's like a spot. I think it's at the bottom of the wave turn that there's just like a little pothole in the track or something, because every time we hit that section of track, I just kind of have this jerk in my seat and like it hurt a little bit.
So you might have to warn me of that one.
Yeah, so for that ultimately was the deciding factor for me whether I liked this more or less than Twisted Timbers.
Oh, really?
Because Twisted Timbers for me, I couldn't think of a moment on the ride I didn't like. So that was ultimately what, made the difference for me. Because Lightning Rod also has a really unique second half of the ride where you go down that quadruple down, going down the side of the mountain. So you actually hit the top speed of the ride at the very end, which is a really surreal experience. Like, you just are coming down that mountain. You probably start at 40 or 50 miles per hour at the top. And by the time you get to the bottom of the hill, you hit that top speed of 77 miles per hour as you just go soaring through the support structure of the lift hill. So it was just just crazy intense right at the very end. And then you go through that big turnaround and into the final break. So that's kind of a unique experience of like being on a coaster that goes faster and faster until the ride ends, because usually it's the opposite. So right. That was a lot of fun too. Now, I teased this for a lot of you that I have a really, really crazy story about Lightning Rod.
Craziest ever.
Now, Haley knows the story already because I could not wait this long to tell her. So I
was so excited.
I told her literally when she picked me up from the park that day. So the second day I'm at the park, I decided to end my day just getting as many rides on Lightning Rod as I could. I'd had 2 at that point. Towards the end of the day, the line was about probably like 30, 40 minutes, which isn't terrible. And I had gotten 2 back row rides. Like, both of the times I had ended up in the back row. And so I was like, okay, I got to get a front row ride, or at least front of the train ride on Lightning Rod. Front row preferably. So I get in line, and this was probably, I think the park closed at 7. I got in line probably at like 5:30. Okay? Because this was, like I said, I got the cinnamon bread at like 4. So I gave some time for that to digest. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to hop in line for Lightning Rod, get a couple rides, and then be done for the day. So like 5:30, I get in line for the ride. And first of all, the queue is really fun. They actually have some theming in the queue. It's kind of themed to like, the whole story of the ride is essentially you're taking your hot rod to a hill climb race event.
Right.
And so like the whole queue is themed to like a mechanic shop with like, there's like a door you walk past and like the door lights up as if someone's doing welding and like you can hear a welding gun.
Cool. Okay.
So there's some decent theming in the queue. It's kind of fun. So I get up to, there's like 3 levels. The station's on the top level, and then there's, 2 levels underneath it. You get to the second level, and when you get to the end of the queue of the second level, there's someone there to tell you what line or what row to line up in when you get up to the station, which has kind of been a theme with some of the newer rides at Herschend, because Time Traveler's the same way. So I get up there and I asked the guy if I could have front row. Now, I had already had a problem earlier in the day where I asked for the same thing on Big Bear Mountain and they said no. Even though in the station there's a section for, like, there's an extra little bit of line for people to wait for front row, but it's a new ride. I don't know. I don't understand the logic behind not letting people wait for front row, but it is what it is.
Right.
It's a new ride, fine, whatever. But then I asked for this at Lightning Rod, and he said, it's too late in the day. We're just trying to get people out of here. And I was like, the park doesn't close for an hour and a half, and it's a 30-minute wait. Everybody behind me, regardless of what row I line up in, is going to be out of the line way before the park is going to close. So it was like this thing. It reminded me of the ticket thing the day before. I'm like, this is just not. I don't care if this is your policy. Logically speaking, it does not make sense. The logic behind it just does. I do statistics for work. Like, I know, like, the numbers just don't add up. So anyway, but I was like, fine. You know, he tells me what row to line up in, and sure enough, I get back row again. Or not back row, but like the, you know, second or third to last. So I get off the ride at like, I don't know, probably 6:15 or whatever. And I'm like, okay, you know what? And I don't know, maybe I'm being dramatic about this, but I was just at this point, I'm like, I'm going to get if it's not front row, at least front of the train. Like, you know, if I'm going to line up towards the front, and if they have a problem with that, they can, you know, kick me out of the park, whatever. I'm going home in 30 minutes anyway. I was just like, I've had my rides in the back. I'm not going to be here for another, you know, not sure how long. So I want to get my front row ride.
Yeah.
And like, it's not that busy. Like, I understand if you're, you know, if it was an insane day on Memorial Day weekend and they're just worried about getting people, you know, getting workers home at a decent hour. But it's 6:15 and the wait is like 20-30 minutes. So it's not that big of a deal here. So I get back in line, and right before I get back up to where they start assigning rows, the ride breaks down, which is typical lightning rod. I knew it was going to happen eventually. Yeah. Lightning rod being a lightning rod, you know, it's bound to happen. But I look at the clock, it's 6:15, 6:30 by this point. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sit here, and maybe it'll open back up, maybe it won't. And so we sit there for a while, and people in front of me are giving up and getting out of line. Eventually, there's only like 20 or 25 of us in line at this point. You know, just all of us thuzies just kind of hoping it's going to open back up.
Thuzies? I don't think I've ever heard of
Have you not heard that term? That's some people, short for enthusiasts, they call them thuzies.
Okay.
So we're just sitting there in line, hoping lightning rod will open back up. And we see it start testing again. We see them send two people, like two of the employees on the coaster. And they come over the speaker, and they say, like, we're sending two of our employees on. If there's no issues, then we'll open the ride back up. Which, I got to give kudos to the park. I know I've complained about a few things, but I got to give kudos to the park for being willing to open up a ride 20 minutes before the park closes.
Yeah, like they didn't have to.
They didn't have to do that. Like, I know a lot of parks that would have just said, it's late in the day, I'm sorry, we're not opening it back up for the rest of the day. So I got to give props where props is due. So they go through the test run, everything's fine. So they get down, they let us, you know, they start getting us set up to go, you know, they're assigning us rows to go back up to the station and get in line. And I get up there, and I count the people in front of me, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get like third or fourth row. So I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that. I wanted front row, but I'll take third or fourth row. That's fine. And so I get up there, and I tell the guy there's, you know, just one of me, and he assigns me back row.
Oh, dear.
So, you know, he threw the first two or three people in the first three rows, and then throws me in the back, and I'm like, I literally was like, no. I didn't say that, but in my head, I'm like, no, I'm just going to line up wherever. So, and I get up to the station, and actually the train is basically empty because they didn't have anybody in the station. So they started assigning rows, but there was nobody up in the station when they reopened the ride. So everybody down there is just like, they're just like, hop on the train. Just like, they're basically like, hop on wherever. And I looked at the guy and I was like, can I wait for front row? And he's like, this might be the last train of the night. And I knew that wasn't going to be the case because I knew they were opening up the line behind me. So there was certainly going to be more people hopping in line. So I told him, I looked at him and I was like, you know what? If it's the last train of the day, I won't ride it. That's fine. I'm willing to wait just in case. And he kind of rolled his eyes at me and it was like, okay, whatever. So I got in front row and I'm like, okay, finally, I'm going to have my front row ride. Well, as they're checking things out and making sure everything's all set up, the guy behind me that also decided to wait for front row starts talking to the ride operator and was like, so why is this ride always having problems? Mm-hmm. And the ride operator looks at him and goes, well, this actually wasn't a mechanical issue that caused the delay. And it was like, okay, so what was
weird.
the... Yeah, I was like, that's weird. So what was the problem? And he said, let's just call it... what was the... environmental. He said, let's just call it an environmental problem. Yeah. And he looks at him and is just kind of like, what? He's like, did someone throw up on the ride? And he's like, no, it's not that. He said it's like, it wasn't a someone, it was a something. We're like... What? Where is this going?
Yeah.
At this point, I kind of got the impression that this guy wasn't really supposed to tell us what was happening. Eventually, we kind of pry, and finally, like, I think the guy asked us, like, was it like a raccoon or something? And the guy looked at us, like, no, bigger. And the guy looked at us, like, was there a bear? And the guy looked at us and he nodded. He's like, yeah, it was a bear. So... I don't know. For those of you that are Dollywood,
like gurus,
if you go to Dollywood all the time, maybe this is a regular thing. Maybe my story's not that special and not that exciting. Full, like, cards on the table. I tried to look and see if anybody had talked about this on Reddit or on Twitter. I haven't seen anybody talk about it. So to me, this sounds like a unique experience, but I could be totally wrong. So you can let me know if maybe this happens all the time. But straight up, Lightning Rod was closed for like a half hour because of a bear. So I guess what happened, the guy told us the story. So they were operating the ride and they have some windows in the station, and he thought he saw movement up by the top of the lift hill. And he nudged one of the other ride ops and was like, am I crazy, or is there a bear up there? And the other guy saw a bear up there. They both saw the bear. So they shut down the ride, and they basically were just, I guess, from what I understand, based on the conversation we had with them, they are they are aware that there is a mom with cubs that live up on the mountain up by Lightning Rod. And two, because they're aware of that, they actually do have bear deterrent policies in place for if this happens. So I guess I don't know what those are, because he said they just had to go and chase the bear away. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what they use or what it was.
Well, I mean, black bear's sensitive to sound. So like,
right. So I don't know
surprised if they just go and like set an alarm or.
I mean, you would think the coaster would scare it away, though. I don't know. It's very strange. So, but yeah, so then after a while, they felt confident it wasn't there anymore. So the two guys hopped on the ride to go check. They didn't see the bear while they were on the ride, so they opened it back up, and we all got to get our rides on Lightning Rod.
Got to ride the ride with Smokey.
It was...
Smokey the Bear.
It was very strange, so there you go. That's my Lightning Rod story. Lightning Rod closed down for 30 minutes because of a bear sighting.
I was like, are you kidding me? Because I wanted to see a bear all week.
But I didn't see it.
But the fact that it was there, that was just like, are you kidding me? What?
Yeah, so that was pretty crazy. So yeah. that was a fun little story from my trip to Dollywood. So, and speaking of bears on the mountain, the last coaster we got to talk about is, of course, the brand new for 2023 Big Bear Mountain.
Big Bear Mountain.
If you haven't heard Dolly Parton's Big Bear,
we're looking for you.
If you haven't heard Dolly Parton's Big Bear Mountain song, go check it out.
Her.
She wrote a song for the coaster.
Dolly is my favorite. I love her so much.
So I got 2 rides on Big Bear Mountain, back row both times. You know, not exactly what I wanted, but is what it is. It is very fun. It is a lot of fun. Now, I was a little surprised. I did not know that I knew there was going to be onboard sound, but I did not know that there was going to be music. So it plays music during the whole ride, which I actually liked a lot. It made it pretty fun. And there's some narration. It throws a lot of bear puns at you during the ride, which is really funny.
Literally,
it was literally like bear left, bear right. As like you're making turns, like. And there's like at the very end, I think he says, "We barely made it." Like,
oh my gosh!
Literally, and so there were 2. The ride experience is a lot of fun. Actually, more intense than I anticipated.
Really,
it wasn't intense, but like some of the forces, I was just like, "Whoa!" Like caught me off guard a little bit for a family coaster. So, a lot of fun. Now, the 2 complaints that me and my brother-in-law both kind of agreed on. There's not enough foliage around the ride. Like they took out all these trees to put the ride in place, and then there's not really any trees around the ride.
I'm sure that will change.
That's my hope. I'm hoping that's something that will come with time, because I think that would
off season they'll add stuff.
I hope so, because I think that would enhance the ride a lot, is being able to ride it through the trees, kind of, like some of the other rides in the park. And also, this might be a spoiler, so if you don't want to, spoiler for if you're going to go ride the ride anytime soon, but you don't see a bear. There's no bear on the ride. Like, you hear the bear.
Looking for
I mean, I guess, but
it's over by Lightning Rod. You
clearly,
can't find it.
clearly.
You have to go
but
find
like, you
it.
hear the bear roar a few times, and like the guy on the ride even says, like, "Was that Big Bear?" But like, you don't actually see anything, and so me and my brother.
It's a mystery.
Okay, sure, if that's the direction they want to go. But I think that's a dumb excuse. Me and my brother-in-law both kind of expected, because the last drop you take on the ride goes under a bridge and then back up into the final breaks. We both kind of expected that there was going to be a bear. Like, it doesn't have to be an animatronic, but at least like a statue or something. But there was nothing.
A bear exhibit. A live bear.
There's just a live bear down there. Just like, I don't know, just something, even if it was just like some eyes glowing in a cave or something, just something to say like, oh, there's the bear, but there was nothing. So everything that the ride is trying to do, you kind of have to imagine you're doing it, because there's no foliage and no bear to kind of actually tell the story. So everything's just kind of being told through the narration and in your imagination, I suppose. So, but it was still very good, a lot of fun, and I think it has potential to be even better if they add a little extra, because like the theming in the queue is great, but the theming on the ride is like just kind of falls flat, if that makes sense. So anyway, but a very, very fun ride. So there's my 2 cents on Big Bear Mountain. So this has been a very long episode, so let's wrap this up with some ride rankings. So, my sister and my brother-in-law gave their top fives.
My favorite ride was?
What was the Acorn one? Because I think...
Nope.
What was
the tram.
The tram. That may have been Parker's favorite, too.
Probably. No, his is little cars. Those little cars are cute.
So, my sister, this is her top 5. Number 5 for her was Fire Chaser Express. Number 4 was Drop Line. Number 3 was Dragon Flyer, which kind of interesting that she has Dragon Flyer up that high. But there were some things she wasn't able to ride because her back was bothering her. So she didn't do Thunderhead, and maybe that was the only. Oh, she didn't do Lightning Rod either. So that makes a difference. Big Bear Mountain is her number 2, and then Wild Eagle was her number 1. And then my brother-in-law, Big Bear Mountain at number 5, Drop Line at number 4, Fire Chaser Express at number 3. He had Mystery Mine all the way up at number 2, which kind of surprised me. And also, he has Lightning Rod nowhere in his top 5. Got Wild Eagle at number 1 as well. So, there you go. Kind of interesting. My little brother Levi also rode. I was his coaster riding buddy the first day because my mom doesn't ride roller coasters, and my dad he had an injury lately that the doctor asked him not to ride roller coasters for the next little bit. So unfortunately, if you guys have listened to the Cedar Point Trip Report, you know my dad's a big roller coaster fan, and that's partially why we took him to Cedar Point with us for his 50th birthday. So it's kind of a bummer he couldn't ride anything with us, and hopefully if we're able to go back to Dollywood next year like we're planning, he'll be in a doctor's approval, and he can ride some of this stuff with us. So, but my little brother Levi is a little daredevil, and so he needed someone to ride with him, especially because we've mentioned this before, but he has autism, so he needs someone to be with him at all times. And so, but he rode everything except for Tennessee Tornado and Wild Eagle. He's not tall enough, But everything else, he rode Lightning Rod with me, which is crazy. And he enjoyed it too. And Mystery Mine was his first inversion, the first coaster with inversions. So that was that was the first time he'd gone upside down on a roller coaster. So
I wonder if he would like the coaster at Silver Dollar City now. He's been upside down.
Which one? There's lots of upside down coasters at Silver Dollar City.
Wildfire. I'm so tired.
Outlaw Run? Time Traveler? Okay.
I'm Time Traveler. He may like Time Traveler too.
Maybe. I don't know. But the one he keeps talking about is Mystery Mine. So I think that's probably what his favorite was. He talks about Fire Chaser Express a lot too. So those are the two that he really, really keeps talking about when I ask him what his favorite rides were. So, and then I will give you my final ranking here.
Here we go.
Here we go. At the bottom was Whistle Punk Chaser, which is not really that big of a surprise. After that was Fire Chaser Express. It's too bumpy. I couldn't put it any higher than that. It was just too bumpy for me. After that is Blazing Fury. You know, I have it a little bit lower than Fire in the Hole, just because Fire in the Hole gets the nostalgic boost for me. And then I believe my next is actually Tennessee Tornado. I don't know. It was fine. I didn't get the hype, like I said. So then after that, I believe. Sorry, I should have listed these better. I've got Mystery Mine as my next one. After that, followed by Big Bear Mountain, which I believe Big Bear. So that makes Mystery Mine my number 5, Big Bear Mountain my number 4 at the park. Which then makes my top 3 is Wild Eagle at number 3. And then Thunderhead at number 2 and Lightning Rod at number 1. So
solid.
Not a big shakeup at the top, because if you go to the CoasterBot rankings, Lightning Rod and Thunderhead are 1 and 2. Tennessee Tornado is at 3, but Wild Eagle and Mystery Mine are 4 and 5 after that. So they kind of fall in place in that order. Now, I don't know where Big Bear Mountain is going to end up, because that's a new one, so we'll see where it ends up at the end of the year. But yeah, really my big takeaways were just that I did not enjoy Tennessee Tornado and Fire Chaser Express as much as other people. And then everything else just kind of fell into place exactly where the rest of the rankings are. So, I missed Dragonflyer. I didn't. Where did I put Dragonflyer at? I'm pretty sure I put it above Blazing Fury. Yeah, there's Dragonflyer right there. So, yeah, pretty much exactly how the rankings have it, minus Tennessee Tornado and Fire Chaser Express. So,
okay.
Thunderhead. Here's my big hot take. Thunderhead is now my number 1 wooden coaster.
Wow.
Even ahead of Outlaw Run as of right now. Now, I do need to get another ride on Outlaw Run at some point this year, and I'll double check on that. But Thunderhead was so good. Very, very good. So
you can't really ride the Thunderhead at night, so.
I mean, you could if you. That is a fair point. You gotta take the Outlaw Run night ride into account.
Freaking night rides are the best.
So, and I will say the last ride I got on Outlaw Run when we went back in November is probably the best ride I've ever had on Outlaw Run. So
fun.
We'll see when I get on it later this year. Maybe that will change, but
really.
For now, we'll leave it as it is.
Doctor clears me to ride stuff after the baby's born. I'm so mad if I can't
so antsy.
Ride something this year.
So, well, thank you for tuning in to this Dollywood trip report. It was a good trip. It was a lot of fun. There were some things that were frustrating, so I'm not going to say Dollywood was one of my favorite parks I've ever been to, but a very solid selection of roller coasters. I've got two of the coasters from that trip ended up in my top 15, so very, very solid selection there.
Me too.
Oh yeah, is that so? Did the tram end up in your top 5 tram rides? There's actually a YouTuber, a coaster YouTuber that he has a little baby girl that's like probably 1 or 2, and he keeps track of her train credits until she's old enough to ride coasters.
That's adorable.
That's pretty fun.
That's cute.
By the way, I will say Dollywood's train really cool because it's an actual coal engine instead of a steam engine.
That's the one thing I wish I would have done.
Yeah.
But with Parker taking that super long nap, I just kind of
we kind of ran out of time. So, but, be sure to follow us here on Spotify or wherever you may be listening, because there is a Worlds of Fun trip report coming in the next couple weeks. And later this week, if you're listening to this when it comes out, I will actually be visiting Holiday World and Kentucky Kingdom for the very first time this week. So, a lot of fun credits there. Get some.
You'll be going by yourself.
Yeah, just by myself, but we'll do some trip reports for those as well that I'll record with Haley, so that I can kind of share my experience with her. As you know, I'm excited to get some voyage rides and some storm chaser rides. We'll see how those turn out, and yeah, very exciting. So. Be sure to follow so that you can keep up to date whenever we post these trip reports, but also check out our regular Airtime Traveler. If you like to learn about roller coaster history, we just did an episode about Wildfire at Silver Dollar City. Our next episode is going to be about something at Kings Island, so be sure to keep up to date on those.
I promise the history is cooler than you think it is.
Yeah, I think it's fun. We have some funny stuff in there too.
It's true. It's true. I feel like when people hear the word history, it's immediate turn off.
Like,
but I promise, they're really cool. Because history's a turn off for me, but these are cool. So.
Well, especially if you're a coaster enthusiast and you like learning about like how these rides were developed. It's we call it roller coaster history, but it's really just learning about how these rides came to be, and it's pretty cool.
There's story.
There's a lot of story there. So
yeah.
So I think that's all we've got for this time. You can go and follow us on social media at Airtime Traveler. So be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram. And I think that's all for this trip report. Anything final to add?
Nope.
Maybe we'll see Dolly Parton next time.
Oh, I wish. She better live till then, babe.
I think she's gonna live forever.
That's true. That woman is indestructible.
Yep.
I love her. I love her so much.
Well, thanks for tuning in to this trip report, and we will see you in the next one.